When you feel afraid, a lot of times the reason why that fear is coming up is because you're not breathing into it and thinking through and really understanding why you're experiencing that fear.
You're listening to Thrive by Design, business, marketing, and lifestyle strategies for your jewelry brand to flourish and thrive. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Thrive by Design podcast, episode number 73. This is Tracy Matthews, your host today and the Chief Visionary Officer over at Flourish and Thrive Academy. And for those of you who don't know, I am a jewelry designer, just like many of you out there. And I'm thrilled to be here as your host to talk a little bit more about something that I think is a really important thing to discuss here at the end of the year. So I love the end of the year and I love the beginning of the year for lots of reasons. First of all, the end of the year, things just start to quiet down a little bit, although it seems kind of crazy because all of us have been working so hard throughout the holiday seasons to really get our jewelry out there, to fill all our orders and to promote our brand because this is such a busy season for us. And I can say honestly, I hardly put any effort in this year to my holiday sales for multiple reasons, which I'll share with you momentarily. But because I have it so dialed in and I know exactly who I'm talking to with my marketing and everything, I kept getting all these last minute orders popping up, which is great. You know, I love having that, but I just feel like the last few weeks have been super frazzled trying to get my custom orders and designs sort of to my clients, which has been awesome. It's been like a super awesome wrap of the year. In addition to that, I had a fundraiser for the school that I'm building in Kenya. Some of you participated in it. For those of you who are in Flourish and Thrive Academy, we had a Giving Tuesday special promotion, and a lot of you got some of our resources for a Pay What You Want thing, which was really cool. That happened back in November, which was fun. And I also did a fundraiser for my jewelry business, which was really amazing. I did a recap on an earlier episode and ended up raising, I think, about just under $7,000 with that fundraiser. So I've been working on getting those raffle prizes out, and the people who actually bought in a little bit deeper, working on getting their jewelry done. So it's been pretty cool and a really busy season on top of all the custom jewelry that I've been making. And with that being said, I really do love the end of the year for so many reasons. It's just a time to reflect, a time to really take a breath and relax again and reset for the new year. So especially this week between the Christmas holiday and the new year, I mean, at least for me in my upbringing and tradition, it's been a really great time to reset. So I also love this time of year because when I was teaching yoga back in the day, I love the start of new season because it gives us the opportunity to start fresh with a completely clean slate, which I think is so cool. I love that experience more than anything. And when I was teaching yoga, I always gave my students an opportunity to really envision what it is that they wanted to create for the next couple of months that are coming forward and that they're thinking about. So I'd like to invite you to do that too. You're not technically my yoga students, but if you're listening to this, you're following me on the podcast and, that's just the same thing. Hopefully you're enjoying some of the things that you're hearing. So, use this as an opportunity to really start fresh. So today I really wanted to talk about something that has come up for me lately, and it's really about how to make up your mind when your fear becomes overwhelming. And I know that fear, or what feels like fear, can be really debilitating for a lot of us and can stop us in our tracks from moving forward towards what it is that we want. And so this is a really great time to reset. So I'm going to share a story with you momentarily, but I wanted to share with you something really awesome that's coming up that we're going to officially be announcing on January 1st. I'm going to give you a little tease right now and tell you about it a little bit earlier, which is cool. So we have our Jewelry Brand Makeover Bootcamp, which is officially starting on January 9th, but we're starting with some really fun stuff starting January 1st. So I would love to invite you to join us, and you can join now. We'll keep reminding you that it's going to be happening. So you can go check that out over at flourishthriveacademy.com/brand makeover. That's flourishthriveacademy.com/brand makeover. And this bootcamp is really, really cool because we're going to be spending 10 days getting your business into shape for 2017 and really leveling up some of the things that you're doing with your branding, that you're doing with your messaging, that you're doing with your mindset, and help you get really clear on what it is that makes people want to actually buy your jewelry. So I know a lot of you struggle with selling your products. You struggle with maybe getting yourself out there. You struggle with this idea of sharing what you're doing because you feel like it's being cheesy or salesy. So we're just going to help you like refine that process and level it up a little bit more. So we'd love for you to join us. You can go on, check it out over at flourishthriveacademy.com/brand makeover, and we'll have all the details there of how you can join and how you can get in. And we're going to be continuing the conversation in a really intimate Facebook group setting so that we can chat about and workshop with you one-on-one so that you can really get the results that you want. So I'm very, very excited. And I'm excited because the new year is starting pretty much next week in less than 7 days. So this is a great opportunity for you to start fresh. And I really hope that you will. So I want you to start by just taking a moment to envision what it is that you want to create in 2017, whether it be from a revenue perspective with your sales, or whether it be from a lifestyle perspective with your, with your life, or whether it be something bigger than that. When I was revamping my business and when I shut down Tracy Matthews Designs at the end of 2009, the beginning of 2010 was a really awesome opportunity for me to just like literally start with the cleanest slate ever, because I was starting to build a brand new business. And one of the things that I really did, I took a look at what it was that I wanted to create for my life. And one of the things that I didn't like about Tracy Matthews Designs was because of the way that I set it up and because of how involved I was with every single step of the process of that business. It was really hard for me to walk away at times when I wanted to go travel for an extended period of time, or to go, work remotely to visit my family for a week without having my production interrupted or something like that. So there are a lot of things that I really wanted to create. I wanted to have, I knew that I wanted to have a virtual team. And for me, I know that this is not everyone's dream, but for me, I really wanted to have production that was outsourced, that didn't require to be done inside my office. I wanted to make sure that it was done somewhere else so that I didn't have the responsibility of like locking and unlocking a door every day for people to come work. And, I worked really hard on creating that vision of what I saw it was going to look like. And I'm living that today. And it makes me, I'm getting a little bit choked up right now because it's so gratifying to me to know that throughout this process of building a business and, first deciding on one direction to go to and then moving into another direction over the years, because that was what was suiting me then. It's just really gratifying to know that we all have a choice and we can do whatever we want. I think a lot of times the thing that gets in our way is that we become afraid, or we let past experiences sort of roadblock us from really being our brilliant selves, or really being our, best brand, or really like going after what it is that we really crave as a jewelry designer, as a jewelry maker, as a jewelry business owner, as someone who wants to get their designs and their products out on the scene. So that's why I wanted to talk about this topic today, because I know for me, what ends up happening when I get stuck in fear is that I become really indecisive and can't make a decision. And that sucks. Like, none of us really want to do that. And this happened to me recently. We've been preparing for this boot camp for many, many months. So behind the scenes at Flourish and Thrive, when we're developing free training or these podcasts and everything, it takes a long time to get these things like up to speed. So we're planning many months in advance. And, we're doing things differently than we have before. And that's scary because, when you're used to a routine or you're used to something that actually works, it's hard to take that leap to try something different when you're uncertain about what the result's going to be, right? And so I was coming up against this really big decision of investing in a certain amount in advertising and getting the word out there for what we're doing over here at Flourish and Thrive. And a similar situation had come up with my jewelry business when I was doing this fundraiser. Like, how much do I actually invest in this? Like, what if it's a total flop and I end up losing money and don't make a return on investment, or lose money and I don't raise enough money for the fundraiser? So it's like two separate things here. Let me break it down so I'm not confusing. So for the fundraiser, I'm fronting, or I'm actually, my portion of the investment is to donate the jewelry for this raffle that I was having. And that was all fine, and I was happy to do that. But I got really afraid about what to do, and I kept waffling back and forth for 2 months with my friend who was like helping me like sort of come up with the concept I'm like, what do I do? Like, what if this thing is a flop and no one actually donates to the project? And then I end up like losing money and have no money to actually donate to the school. And it was like this big flip-flop, and I kept getting in my own way and not being able to make a decision. So the project ended up being delayed by several weeks, which was frustrating. The good news was that when I finally made a decision and I committed to it, the fundraiser was a huge success, and I ended up raising close to $7,000, which I mentioned earlier. But then we were coming up against this other thing. It's like, how much do I invest in this promotion, and is this something good? And I know I'm not going to get into the weeds about like what I'm talking about exactly here, but it was like, do I put all this money here, or do I play it safe and not take that risk to go after what I want? Because I have a dream and a goal of like what we want to achieve for this boot camp, and the investment in order to get there, to get the numbers that I wanted, was a huge risk, because it could potentially, I know the boot camp's going to be a success. I'm not worried about that, but my calculations could be off and I could, lose that investment or whatever. But the thing I had to do was step back, and realize that a lot of these fears that were coming up for me were fears because of things that happened in my past relationship with my previous business, I should say. In my previous business, when I didn't think things through fully, and I started having all this fear coming up, and it was not allowing me to actually make a decision. And the people who were helping, like supporting me, my team at Flourish and Thrive, and the people that I've hired to help us sort of get this boot camp going, were starting to get frustrated with me. And I don't blame them for getting frustrated with me. It's annoying when someone can't make a decision. I don't know if you've ever been in that spot when someone's been in this huge space of indecision, but it's hard to, work with people like that. And I was like driving myself crazy because I couldn't decide. And I had to step back for a minute and check in with myself, because I realized what was happening was that I was just afraid. I was afraid to take that step because of what had happened to me in the past and how I made bad choices in the past without looking at the full picture. So once I got really clear on that, it really helped me to, check in with my gut and check in with my intuition. I meditated on it a little bit. I started creating an affirmation around it. And then all these things started to shift. And I was like, all right, okay, here's what I can do. This is what feels right. And here's the calculated choice that I'm making to get the results that I want for both of those things, for my fundraiser and for this boot camp that we're putting forward. Because we've made a huge investment in really creating materials and a lot of other things for free for you guys, which is really cool. So, all good. But I want to talk to you a little bit about like sort of the process that I went through when I was having a difficult time making up my mind and really, making a decision, and how that fear started to become really overwhelming for me. So one of my favorite quotes ever of all time is that it's from this guy named Fritz Perls, and it goes a little something like this. And if you've been following me for a while, you've probably heard me say this. I used to say it at least 5 times a year in my yoga class when I was teaching the Dharma talk before. Fear is just excitement without the breath. That's a quote by Fritz Perls. Fear is just an excitement without the breath. So when you feel afraid, a lot of times the reason why that fear is coming up is because you're not breathing into it and thinking through and really understanding why you're experiencing that fear. My sister has been going through a really tough time. She's going through a divorce, and she's had a lot of anxiety about kind of like being on her own. I don't think she's listening to this, so hopefully she doesn't get mad at me for saying this. But, and making these huge life decisions with 2 beautiful daughters and like making a life change, it's been like hard for her. And I had to sit with her like many times and just say, look, Nikki, take a deep breath, because, a lot of what you're afraid of is really just like not a real fear. It's just walking into the unknown, which can be really exciting. And I think this is a great opportunity for you to really reinvent yourself and do something so much better with your situation and become a better person. And so, my sister's situation aside, and all of us, Nikki, love you. Sorry, I hope you don't get mad at me for sharing that story. But I know you're on the other side now and you're doing awesome. So I feel comfortable sharing that now. Is just to remember that when you're feeling really overwhelmed, you need to breathe. And that's one of the parts of this process that I want to take you through today. So the first step of really trying to make a decision when you don't know what to do, when you're feeling really afraid, I think is reflecting. So you need to sit with what's going on with you, and reflect on the reasons why you're feeling that way. So that's sometimes a hard thing to do because we believe that fear is true. And fear is really just an energy. Has nothing to do with reality. Like a ball of energy, it's not real. I don't know how to say it other than that, but it's not real. It's just something that we feel. It's an emotion. So, when you realize that and when you become a little bit more logical in your thinking, like it's nothing that can hurt you. Technically, fear, things that make you fearful can probably hurt you, but fear in and of itself cannot hurt you. When you realize that, it helps you kind of be a little bit more objective about the situation. So take a moment to sit back and reflect and then analyze if something went wrong, what was it? And does it really have anything to do with this situation now? So when I was having a lot of anxiety trying to make a choice on like which direction to go, like where I should invest in my business to help grow it and to help, really support you guys, one of the things that was really coming up for me was something that happened in my jewelry business many years before when I had not really thought through my decision to invest in, I think, 5 additional trade shows within a year. And 3 of those trade shows were international, very expensive to attend. And I didn't think through, the ramifications of joining those trade shows. I didn't walk the trade shows before. I didn't have like really good educated feedback on if those trade shows were going to get a return on investment. Instead, I just, invested in the hefty trade show fees. Some of them were like 10 grand to join. I did like 5 extra ones in a year, and I did not get a return on investment from attending those shows. And it really put my business in a financially tough situation with cash flow. And even though the business was doing really well, we were generating a lot of revenue. I was getting like several orders that were like, in the range of $50,000 to $100,000 each. Making those extra investments and, all the other stuff that needed to go into that, extra sample lines, extra team, travel expenses, time away from the office, focusing on the accounts that actually will buy instead of trying to meet the new accounts. Doing all that too much at once, was a bad choice that I made back then. But it doesn't have anything to do with the choice that I'm making now, because I've proven that what we're doing is working, and I'm doubling down, as my friend Jan Kim likes to say, doubling down on what is working to move in a direction to help grow the business. So when I realized, okay, this is a lot of, fear that's coming up from something I did in the past when I didn't think through things. And now I'm thinking it through probably too much, when I recognized that, it was okay for me to say, okay, and label that fear as it being that. So I did a really deep investigation to try and understand what was holding me back and why I was feeling that way. And that took me to the next step. This process of reflection was to meditate. So I try to meditate every day when I'm really busy. I sometimes don't, full disclosure, but I try to sit like 10 minutes after I've worked out in the morning, or if I'm not working out in the morning, like 10 minutes after I've had my coffee, and just sit at my altar and meditate. And my meditations look different every day. A lot of times nothing really comes in, but I think the most important thing that it does is help me clear space and clear clutter when I'm feeling confused and overwhelmed. So the next step of this process that helped me make a decision was to sit with it and meditate. And I just asked for guidance. You can ask for guidance from whatever you believe in. So if you believe in the universe, if you believe in your higher, spirit guides, if you believe in God, if you believe in, someone like Jesus Christ, or, whatever your faith is, you can call that person in. So you can call it prayer, you can call it meditation, whatever it means to you, and just ask for guidance, because what ends up happening is you get answers. And sometimes we don't trust the answers that come to us, but if you listen, you will get answers. So try to start with a daily practice. So for those of you who don't meditate or pray every day, just sit with it and practice on a daily basis, because that commitment to yourself to sit and think things through will really be helpful in making a decision and helping you make up your mind. And then listen, my healer says this to me all the time. Tracy, you're so busy all the time. You're running, that there's no time for you to actually listen to the answers that are coming to you. Because when I struggle with my meditation, I share it with her. And she said, look, Tracy, like, your homework right now is to just slow down a little bit and listen and stop going a million miles an hour so that you can actually get the answers that you're seeking. So Listen, listen, listen. And then the next step is to trust your gut. So this is called a lot of different things, maybe listening to your intuition, hearing those messages that are coming to you, because we get a physical feeling in our body when something's right. And, if you take that quote that I gave earlier, fear is just excitement without the breath. When you have butterflies in your stomach, that's a good feeling. When you feel these overwhelming feelings of like excitement, but you're nervous to do it because you're trying to, you're worried about the outcome, take a look at that and break those things down. Now, you'll also know when something's not right. So my healer, my friend, she says to me all the time, her name's Melanie, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. So a lot of times, we're getting hell yeses, but we're not paying attention to those hell yeses. And a lot of times we're getting no's and we're not paying attention to those no's. So make sure that you're listening to the feeling that you're getting inside of you. Butterflies are really good. And, listen to those butterflies because that's excitement. Like if you're really excited about a project, oftentimes it's a really good idea to move towards that direction, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed. So if you're thinking about investing in something for your business, like maybe a course or a program, like something like we do over here at Flourish and Thrive, or maybe you're thinking about joining a mastermind and investing in taking your business to the next level, or maybe you're thinking about investing in a trade show, think through it. And if you're really excited about it, a lot of times that is a good gauge on, if this is a good choice or not. If you're doing it out of desperation, now that's something different that you want to also take a look at. And then I think the next step that has really been useful for me over the past, 10 years or so is to create some sort of mantra or affirmation that shapes or addresses, maybe is a better word for it, the fear or the overwhelming feeling that's coming up. So, for me, when I closed my business and started over, the biggest overwhelming feeling that I had was my fear of not being able to make money again as a jewelry designer and following my passion. So I created this mantra. I earn a profit of $15,000 a month by attracting the right clients who want to buy my work and value my creativity. So the mantra was a lot longer than that. Mantra or affirmation, it's, kind of the same thing. Mantras are typically a little bit shorter. So you can create your own personal mantra. Like for instance, like if you're afraid of people putting yourself out there and people saying no, you can, create a mantra, something along the lines like, my brand is adored by the right clients and I easily attract them. If you are worried about being creative enough and coming up with good ideas, you can come up with a mantra like, I am boundlessly creative and I can tap into my creative resources at a moment's notice. So think about the thing that is coming, that you're facing, any fear that you're having. You can create a little mantra around it and use that to help you kind of make up your mind and get over these overwhelming feelings that you might have. And the final step that I use on a daily basis is to breathe. And that is my favorite practice. Whenever I'm holding my breath or feeling really stressed out, I have to remember that fear is just excitement without the breath, and to step back for a moment and take a deep breath and breathe. So I was at my mastermind a couple weeks ago and a bunch of new members joined, and there's this amazing woman who joined our mastermind. Her name's Rucker, and she's a fitness expert, and I don't know her very well yet. She's new to the mastermind. I was going through personally a really tough time because I found out the first day of the mastermind that my brother was going in for surgery for something that he's been dealing with, and it was pretty major surgery and kind of a life and death thing. He's fine now and everything's good. He doesn't really want me to talk about it, so I'm not going to, but I was dealing with these incredible feelings of overwhelm and anxiety and huge fear because my mother passed away when she was 45 and my brother is 44 after elective surgery that she went into and ended up dying from a blood clot post-surgery. So all of these feelings of anxiety and overwhelm were coming up because of that experience that I had when I was 22 years old. And it was almost like I was reliving that again with my brother having to go into the hospital. And it was awful. It was an awful experience that I was a mess for a couple of days. And this woman, Betty, or her name's not Betty, her business is the Betty Rucker. Her name is Bree, actually. So Bree came up to me and noticed that I was like going through something. She's like, I don't even know what you're going through, girl, but I just want to tell you, like, I have overwhelming anxiety at times, and I've used this breathing practice that has really helped me get through those times of stress. And, I had to dial it back for a minute because I'm a yoga teacher. I've taught yoga for years. And one of the key foundations of yoga is, pranayama, which is breathing, focusing on your breath. And that's, we can't live without oxygen. And a lot of the times that we start, getting those anxious feelings is because our body is lacking oxygen. So she gave me this really amazing breathing practice, which was taking 30 deep breaths in and exhaling it all out your mouth every single time. In through your nose and out through your mouth, really forcefully. And then there's just other really basic pranayama practices that you can use, or breathing practices when you're feeling overwhelmed. So thank you, Bree, for that amazing reminder that the breath is the most important thing when we're feeling overwhelmed to focus on. And I'm just going to give you a simple breathing exercise now. If you are feeling overwhelmed, I just encourage you to close your eyes and draw your energy back in and just count to 5 and breathe in your nose and fill up your breath all the way through the crown of your head. And then as you exhale, ground down through the base of your spine and let it all out your nose. And just do that as many times as you need, but I would say a minimum of 5. You can do up to 30. You could do a more intensive breathing practice like Bree suggested, where you breathe deeply in through your nose and exhale it all out through your mouth forcefully. And that's, a really great cleansing and clearing exercise for those of you who are feeling really overwhelmed and like you're stuck in your tracks. So I just wanted to share that with you. So that, sort of the 4 phases of how to make up your mind when you are feeling really overwhelmed by fear is that you want to reflect and sit with the feeling and analyze sort of why this is coming up for you. Is it something from your past? Is it because you haven't fully thought it out? Is it because you aren't really sure if this is a good choice? I don't recommend going into something if you haven't heard of proven results or, done enough research on it. But, if the research and information is there and you can make an educated decision and it feels like a good choice for you, those are things that you want to think about when you're analyzing these decisions. Start a daily practice of meditation if you can. If you can't do it daily, try to do it commit to at least a couple times a week. So helpful. Trust your gut. Make sure that you're listening to the, feel the belly and, the higher self, and listen to your intuition, because you oftentimes have the answer. You just need to get quiet enough, like my friend Melanie says. Then you want to create a mantra so you can flip that fear and sort of turn it inside out so that you can sort of change how you think about it. And then finally, you want to breathe. So that's super important, is to breathe, focusing on your breath and dealing with that then. All right, so I'm so excited for you guys because the new year is coming up and I really want to hear from you, to hear about what you're doing to set your intention forward to reach your goals in 2017, because it's going to be an awesome year. I really, truly hope you'll join us for the jewelry brand makeover. It's going to be so fun. Trust me, it's a completely free series, 10-day challenge, bootcamp style training, which is going to be so fun. Robin and I are going to be giving you one-on-one feedback in our Facebook group, but you have to join the challenge in order to get that free mentoring from us. So you can head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/brand makeover. That's flourishthriveacademy.com/brand makeover. All right, you guys, thanks so much for listening today. I'm wishing you the best of the rest of the holiday season, and also wishing you a wonderful, prosperous, healthy, happy new year, which is coming up. 2017 is going to be awesome, isn't it? All right, if you haven't done so yet and you like what you're listening here over at Thrive by Design, I'd love for you to rate and review our podcast. You can head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/iTunes. Thanks so much, you guys. Have an awesome day, and looking forward to connecting with you more. Bye.